Hi there, my name's Deirdre and I'm sitting here with my daughter Emily. And Emily, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what grade you are in and how old you are?
I'm in grade 5 and I'm 11 years old.
And tell me, basically, when you want to learn or your teacher wants to teach you something of importance, can you name various ways that you are taught at school?
Well, first, my teacher, she goes through it by using a PowerPoint and pictures. Then we do an activity and we mark it and we go over the sections that we got wrong.
And tell me, for something such as, something a bit more uncomfortable, not just an English lesson or a maths lesson, but let's say your teacher wants to teach you about bullying. Can you tell me how she went about doing that? Did you have to do any specific activity? How were you taught the lesson? What actually happened?
Well, for things like that, we don't get taught by our teacher. We get taught by our guidance counselor. So she comes to all the classes and she does a special activity with us. And she sometimes, if we want to talk to her, then we can go outside and talk to her. But we can also do that with our teacher. We'll do certain activities such as, for example, bullying. She'll ask us for examples of bullying, and then she'll tell us to all close our eyes, and then she'd say, who has ever done this? And then we would have to put up our hands. And then she'll talk to us separately at the end of the lesson about what we said we've done.
Okay, and then just more specifically, did you do any specific activities, like something on a computer or a poster, or how did she teach you and then assess or gauge whether people understood the concept about bullying? What did you have to do? An activity, did you have to do any activity?
We made posters about what would happen to how bullying would affect someone and how bullying would affect the bully themselves.
Okay, that's very good. And then, is there any pros or cons that you can think of in how this lesson on bullying specifically, excuse me, what was good about it and what wasn't so good about it in the way you were taught about bullying and the activity of making a poster? Is there anything that you can think of how maybe she could have improved on, but just specifically what you did for the bullying topic?
Well, it was very helpful because it did teach us a lot about bullying, but we did it in groups. So sometimes people gave their input on bullying that didn't always sound right to the next person in the group, and then we wouldn't really know what is right and what is wrong. And I thought the teacher could be a bit more more
creative, give more examples.
I think she should have helped us along, like put us on the right track. I mean, she did tell us a lot about bullying, but she didn't really tell us how to see if the person is doing it because they're insecure or if the person is just doing it out of hate or...
Okay, thank you very much. Now just to move on to something differently, because I'm thinking of an idea of teaching children something online, or on a computer, on a website. And we'll touch on that topic about bullying soon enough now again in this interview, but just can you give me an example of anything that you have learned online or any activities you've done online at school?
Well, in English, sometimes you play these games that give us different scenarios or whatever. They give us a picture or a scene on the screen, and then it gives us a bunch of people or just two people, and then there's speech bubbles and they're talking to each other, and then they'd say what is wrong with this sentence, and then they'd give us an A, B, and C, and we choose the correct one. And if you got it wrong, then they would go through a tutorial kind of a tutorial that explains how you would learn that or how you would remember that.
Okay, that's very good. Now tell me, do you think, my idea is to teach children about abuse, if they're being abused by another adult or another child, but do you think that an online method could work?
I think online methods work more. Work better than social like lessons, because when we're sitting in a classroom, sometimes our teacher does try to let us share our feelings about the class and people in our class, but no one really tells the truth because they, I don't know what the word, scared that no one's gonna like them. So when you're playing an online game and you have to pick choices, then you don't usually, if it's something personal, you don't usually tell your friends about it, because they don't know what you're choosing. So it's easier to answer questions sometimes when you're online.
Okay, and then how would you assess, I think you've touched on this, but how would we assess online whether the child has learned the lesson? I think it's what you said. You can maybe give an animation and give scenarios.
Speech bubbles.
The speech bubbles.
I remember in once for bullying, because our school was doing a whole campaign on that. They set up a special game on their website, and they gave us different scenarios, such as if a bully says, give me your lunch," or something like that, and then they gave us A, B, and C, and then maybe one option is give them your lunch, run away, or tell a teacher, and then we'd pick the right one, but we'd do it as a class, so we'd all decide which one would be best, and then we'd see which one is right and which one is wrong, and then we discuss why do you think it is right and why do you think it is wrong.
Just a last question. Do you think, do you think this would work? Let's say a child actually then got the lesson about the abuse, but then how, do you think at the end of the day the teacher's still important? Would the child say on the online game, yes, I'm being abused, or would there need to be a connection with the teacher? What are your feelings just in terms of, disclosing abuse, the child disclosing? Do you think the teacher is important, or how would you do that?
Yes, I think the teacher is important, because I notice a lot in my school. Children regularly go and talk to my teacher about problems they're having, and then sometimes our teacher would maybe contact their parents, and then their parents wouldn't confront them like in a very they would confront them in a subtle way, and they try to let us sort out the problem with them ourselves. So in the end, they don't know that the teacher told us, but they still feel like the problem is solved now because our parents know.
So just in conclusion, obviously this is just an idea that I have, and I thank you for your input. I thank you for sharing, your experiences at your own school. Just a last question, just to round this all up. How could I do this on a large scale? I can, at this stage, maybe we can have a team going to each school, but that's people physically going. But I was just thinking in terms of online, is there any way that children across South Africa can access this game or this lesson? And have you any input in that or experience of that?
Actually, yes, because you can create a website, and I think you need to learn how to do this, but you can make it that each school can sign into this website, and they can have their own specific portal, and they can go into that and they can assign the children different activities to do, such as the one that my school uses is called Purple Mash. And what happens is you click on the website, and then it'll give you a list of schools from all around the world, and then I would obviously click on my school, and then it'll say go to your school portal, and each child has their own username and their own password that you get a little card that you can remember, and you type it in so that each child has a different page. Then not everyone can access each other's work, because some of the games on most websites are personal, so they don't want any children to be able to look at it.
Yeah, obviously I'm just thinking about this, that, then schools would need to have computers. And yeah, that's just a problem that we would need to face in. But yes, thank you so much for your time and your effort and on answering my questions. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.